The way things tend to be going, it seems like wages aren't increasing as much as the cost of living is and the cost of groceries and rent.
I know that a lot of young people are not having kids now, and that's probably part of the reason.
You have to choose putting food on the table versus bringing something that is less necessary.
I think that's just really unfortunate. That's not, what America is supposed to be about.
I'm Ryan Hamilton. I'm a professor of marketing at Emory University. Affordability issues are never a happy story. Like, the only reason we talk about affordability is if things are becoming less affordable, and that's just bad news. Where it gets to be a problem is when people find everyday expenses not affordable. So if they can't eat as much as they used to, or if they can't afford rent, or can't afford a transportation, that's where it really gets to be a problem.
I think in the past, daily expenses, kind of fixed expenses, the way that people would solve that is you would move outside of the city of Atlanta where things were supposed to be more affordable. Now that's not the case. The suburbs are just as expensive, if not more, than inside the city, which is insane. Obviously, gas prices are out the roof. Same with groceries. Particularly, I think since COVID, everything is just kind of skyrocketed.
I know Atlanta is one of the few cities that you still have an option to spend less. Of course, it's expensive. You can spend a lot of money if you're not careful. But I feel like you still have some options here and there to spend a little less. That's one of the reasons I choose to live here.
This neighborhood, for instance, is one of the more popular, let's say, neighborhoods in Atlanta, Virginia Highland. I have lived here for 30 years. I was able to move into this neighborhood and buy a house very young, just out of college, kind of in a creative career. And I know that those opportunities, at least to live in some of these in-town neighborhoods, don't exist now.
I think that most people assume that it's going to be, your super poor families that are, maybe people are unemployed. But I've been really surprised to see that these are working families. I'm the Reverend Senator Kim Jackson. I represent the great people of Stone Mountain in that general area, District 41. The wages are simply not high enough to make ends meet. When we talk about economic factors, that's something that we have to really put into play. We are often talking about working people who are working 40 hours a week, but the wages are so low that they cannot pay rent, electricity, water, and for food. And God forbid they have a medical emergency. You layer that on top of it, and you're talking about just a crumbling tower.
So I noticed that in a lot of people that I know or I work with, most people have a second job. And I assuming, of course, I'm single, and it's easier for me to take care of just myself, but I cannot imagine a family with more than one kid. I am sure that they have to choose to what to expend or what to save if they can save.
Rising cost of living and the not a coinciding rise in wages will have a negative ripple effect on society as a whole. Also could lead to more unemployment and stuff like that. More people being below the poverty line and everything. So it's definitely an issue that needs to get fixed.
I hear from people all the time who are trying to make really hard decisions about what to pay for or not to pay for. Right now, we're in the middle of the summer where people's electric bills are really, really high. And so I have mothers who are literally choosing between, do I continue to run the air condition and keep my house cool enough for us to be comfortable? Or do I let that go in order to afford to make sure that we have food? Or do I risk maybe I can get the food that I need at the church or the food pantry and still be able to pay my electric bill? Sadly, we have people who have fallen in this place of like, they're just not able to pay their electric bill, right? So their electricity has been cut off, which means they typically don't have a way to cook anything at that point. So then they're forced to eat food that's already cooked, which raises the expense even more. And so it becomes this really difficult cycle for people to get out of because they simply don't have the means to make it all work.
Our relationship with prices is not as straightforward as it might seem. There's a big psychological layer involved in there where we process price information and when we react to it. And so we don't react evenly to the prices of all things. If it's something that we need, as opposed to something that we just kind of want or wish that we could have, if it's something that we buy frequently, if it's something that we know the price of already, what it should be, all of these things contribute to our emotional or psychological response to prices. Budgeting is a big part of being a consumer. Obviously, nobody can buy everything that they wish that they could buy at any given time, so we all budget to a greater or lesser extent. When we're in periods of low affordability like we are now, people just need to ratchet down on those budgets a lot more. They need to start thinking more closely about how they're spending everything, right? So it used to be that maybe you could go to the grocery store and not have to pay that much attention to prices. As prices go up and salaries don't keep pace, we need to respond in some way. And so people tend to start cutting back on non-essentials. They tend to start trading down to cheaper brands of things, buying in bulk sizes if they can have the space to do that. But people respond to just having less money because they've got to stretch that dollar farther.
So I notice in America, eating healthier is expensive than eating, less healthy, which is in other countries in general. I'm from South America, so it's a little bit easier to eat healthier because vegetables and fruits are more affordable than more processed food. Like here is very easy and cheap to buy a processed food, and it's expensive to eat healthy. So I noticed that like in fruits and vegetables and eggs or chicken or steaks are yes, it's very expensive.
Milk has gotten more expensive. Steak is the thing I've noticed the most. Steak is like way more expensive per pound. Even I've noticed like since I moved to Atlanta like 2 years ago, a steak at Trader Joe's seems to be like $3 more than it used to be.
Eggs obviously is the one that everyone talks about. I think eggs are a pretty standard staple to a lot of families' meals too, particularly if you can't afford a lot of, heavier protein like pork or beef or chicken. Eggs are kind of where you get that nutrients, and you can kind of feed eggs throughout the day. So that's really unfortunate. I think crazy enough, like bread, all the essentials, the healthier food, the organic food is certainly skyrocketing in price, but I think the basics are as well, and it's making it impossible. It's really shrinking kind of what people can afford, and where it's really just going to end up being canned foods, and that's it.
First of all, we haven't developed a food system that works in terms of local food being easily accessible to people who live in Georgia. Georgia is the #1 place for agriculture. We grow a lot of food. I'm an urban farmer myself. I grow a lot of food myself. But there's not really good, and we're building these pathways, but we haven't perfected the pathway from getting that food from the farm into the mouths and the bellies of Georgians. So what that means is we are importing a lot of food, and the longer food has to travel to get to the grocery store, the more that costs, right? You have to think about the labor, the gas, all of those things. And so the cost goes up, as opposed to, say, getting the watermelon from the field that's 20 miles away and just bringing it directly to the grocery store. We're getting our watermelon all the way from Louisiana or Mexico or further away. And so that drives the cost up, which makes it more difficult for Georgians to be able to access their food. Separately, we do have an issue in terms of where grocery stores are located. and what communities have access to them. Unfortunately, we are now living in a time in Georgia where it's just not profitable to run a grocery store unless you have a substantial population of people who are able to access it and who have the money and the resources to pay for it. And so you're seeing fewer grocery stores and therefore, again, a greater difficulty in accessing the food, because now you're talking about not only is the price up because the food is being imported from long distances, but also the price is up because you're having to drive longer distances to access the food.
In the city, you're not really technically in a food desert. There are grocery stores everywhere, but the prices within the grocery stores are just so insane that it creates a food desert, essentially. And I think the sprawl within Atlanta, too, is extended out to the suburbs where it was supposed to be more affordable.
I fundamentally believe that if you are working a full-time job, 40 hours a week, then you should be able to pay for your food at the grocery store.
All of these prices are going up by so much, so fast, that they're pushing past kind of the band of acceptance that we have. And so that's part of why psychologically you're seeing such strong responses from people. I don't know how much, this box of cereal or this magazine or this, whatever, this car should cost exactly, but oh my goodness, it shouldn't be this much. Because it's happening every day all over the place. I think that's part of why we're seeing such strong reactions from people. We're just outside the bounds of anything that could remotely be acceptable on so many things all at the same time, that it starts to feel like a disaster. It's really starting to feel scary for people.
I think for me as a legislator, I really want to make sure that all Georgians can thrive. Having food is a basic need. It's in that, in that hierarchy of needs, it's a basic need. If you can't meet that, you cannot thrive. And as I noted before, the tower just begins to crumble. If it starts with you don't have enough food to eat, the next you're going to end up with you're not able to work the job that you're supposed to be going to, so maybe you lose your job, you can't pay for your electric bill, you can't pay for your water bill, you can't pay for rent, and then you end up on the street, coming to my ministry out on the streets of Atlanta where we try to help feed people, but it's all because it all crumbled. And oftentimes it started with not being able to pay that first bill, right? Or not being able to really just meet those basic needs that we all have. It is important to our economy. It's important to the well-being of all Georgians that we make food, good, nutritious food, that we make it accessible to all of our folks.
Being under a tight budget and constantly having to watch how you spend, it's a small cognitive tax that just adds up over time. So if you are feeling financially abundant and you don't need to worry about that, then you don't need to keep constant mathematical track of what you've been spending, and you don't need to exercise all that self-control and all that self-denial all the time. By themselves, any one of these things isn't a big deal, but when it's happening a lot, when it's happening every day, when you decide that you can't afford to go out to eat lunch today and instead you have to do something else, all of these things can build up, and they can be stressors, and they can result in stress responses and bad moods and snapping at loved ones and all these kinds of things, because it's a very stressful way to live.
I think that'll kind of broadly impact the longevity of people's lives. I think that'll impact, future offspring. I think that'll impact energy and the workforce, and how hard or how long people can work, because if you're not getting the nutrients, you're not going to be able to commit to work.
With stress comes potential diminished health, and we're at a time that item that has gone up more than anything perhaps is healthcare, and that's not going to get better anytime soon. So kind of that compounding factor that the stress of being able to pay your bills may put you in worse health, and then you have higher healthcare costs.
If you cannot afford to be healthy today, I cannot imagine what's going to be next in the future, right? Is you're going to have to be able to pay medical bills, or you're going to end up in a hospital, and it's super expensive. I noticed that it's extremely expensive here in America, for sure.
we talk about how people respond to affordability issues or respond to scarcity, there's what we should do, and then there's what we actually do sometimes. So if you find yourself with a really constrained budget and you need to tighten the belt, what we should do is kind of rank order our expenses and decide, like, this is what I absolutely need in order to survive and to continue progressing. And then these are the nice things that I would love to get if I could afford them, but maybe we're going to postpone that. So it should be this strictly rational process where we make a spreadsheet and we decide, and it turns out like, oh, rent is really squeezing us, we need to downsize and move to another place. That's what should happen, and for a lot of us, that is what we do or what we try to do. But we are, emotional, psychological creatures, and so sometimes there is spending that we justify on emotional grounds, where I can't really afford this, but it'll make me feel so much better if I spend some money on this right now. So in terms of how companies respond in an environment like this, people are much more price conscious than they used to be. And so, there are definitely cases where companies raise prices outside of the bands of inflation just as like a pure money grab. They call that greedflation, where because prices are going up everywhere, sometimes companies will say like, oh, well, we can raise our prices too and people won't notice. That happens for sure. There's also, though, just a lot of like the prices that these companies are paying are also going up. But a lot of times it's just because like, well, we need to keep pace with our costs. And so we need to pass that along. Companies then, if they want customers to buy from them, need to do something else. And so sometimes companies will like increase the amount of service that they're providing. A very common way of dealing with this is shrinkflation, where I know I have to raise the prices to cover my costs, but maybe I can raise the prices less by just selling a smaller size. And we tend not to notice size differences as easily as we do price differences. And so, how much is a medium box of cereal? Like, how large should that be? Is it 15.5 ounces or is it 17.8 ounces? Like, most of us don't know. We don't have any way of knowing. So visually, it kind of like looks like a medium-sized box of cereal. That's good enough. And so, yeah, they'll play around with that. Companies are in a hard place if they want to try to sell in this day and age, because people don't have as much money to spend. Companies don't have as many places where they can drive down their own costs. And so there's not as many places where they can save money that they can pass on to their customers. The problem that we're running into now is people do not feel like they're getting, right? This is the same box of Pop-Tarts you bought 6 months ago. It just costs $1 more now. So I'm not getting anything extra from this. In fact, if we're dealing with shrinkflation, I might be getting less for that. That's not increasing my value as a customer. As a consumer, I have more sympathy for the consumers who are paying more, but it's also a hard place to be for marketers as well. It's hard to not be able to afford some of the things now that we could a year or two ago, and psychologically giving up on those things or trading down for them is something that we can resist and not want to do and pretend like we can still afford what we could when inflation was lower. But reality catches up.
The thing that I can say is try to choose a good organization to work with, where you can start taking those small steps, right? Not just the finance, but also the healthy side, having a good insurance and trying to stay up, with your health and see what's going on with your body.
As just regular people in the world, really advocate with your school boards, with your legislators, and advocate with them to also increase the ceiling of people who do qualify for government assistance. We know there's a substantial gap between those who qualify for government assistance and those who actually need additional help. So call your local legislator, encourage them to do that.
I think that there should definitely be kind of a wider spread of the resources. Maybe honestly a few more organizations would be great with kind of a more specialized focus, like for those families or for students. I think we need to bring back the specialized programs, because where you lose government funding is when you don't have a focus.
I do know the city of Atlanta is doing a public-private market downtown, kind of like what Mamdani has proposed in New York. And, I think that's the kind of solutions that we need. Public-private working together for solutions.
I would be very remiss if I didn't say this. Go volunteer. Go to your local food bank, your local food pantry. Maybe it's the church that's down the road that has something and you see the line of cars. Just go volunteer.
Back home is a food bank that I work at, which helps out people that are, in need of food. So I think there's definitely programs like that here in Atlanta and around the city.
I personally contribute to cooking once a month for homeless. I'm a cook professionally, and I try to give back. So that's my way to try to help. I notice there are more and more families even showing up every time. So yes, I wish I had more time to help, and I wish more people understand and see that there are places to collaborate, to contribute.
I have children who are entering in the workforce, and I want their wages to, be sufficient so that they can build wealth, build a nest egg, and buy homes and raise kids.
There's a saying in economics that that which cannot go on forever won't, right? Eventually, things are going to cool down on the price inflation front because they have to. If prices are outpacing salaries, then at some point people are just not going to be able to spend on this stuff and the economy freezes up. Economists sometimes call recessions market corrections, and that's what happens. The market freezes up, people can't buy as much at the prices that are being charged, and so there's a big reset, and either salaries go up or prices come down or some combination of those. It's a painful thing to live through, and I think that there are some signs that we're headed in that direction. My best advice is to the extent you can, live in reality and recognize that when you choose to violate your budget, you're doing it deliberately, you're doing it for a purpose, and you're doing it over a short time horizon. Because it's very easy to not live in reality, especially when things are hard. We want to feel better about where we're at, but it'll catch up.
I think a lot of people on both sides of the aisle are recognizing kind of the problem and really starting to see that something needs to give, something needs to change. I think everyone agrees there's an issue. It's just how we're going to solve it and kind of what funds are going to be used to solve it. That's more the issue. There need to be leaders who are intentional about fixing the problem, but it's possible.